Excellent. Good evening. Welcome to the webinar with eBay, Kathy Terrill, and the Auctiva team. We're going to have a pretty fun-filled next hour that I'm going to run through. So to get us started, I don't have my mouse going. There we go. So I want to introduce, obviously Auctiva team here. I'm the CEO, Richard Starr. I have a number of folks on the call. Todd Lusby, our COO, Silva Papa, our product manager, Nathan Wood, and John Nash from marketing. I'm super excited to welcome Kathy Terrill, who joined. So Kathy's going to do a bunch of talking today about eBay marketing. We're going to share a couple updates, and then we have Justin Johnson from the eBay team. Justin had the, I'll say the pleasure of hanging out with me last week while we were in eBay at the partner advisory meeting. So I'm excited to have Justin on. We've had a lot of good conversations with eBay. So today's agenda, we're really going to go through one, why is Auctiva hosting an event like this? What do third-party integrators do, and where do they play a role in the eBay ecosystem? And then really Kathy's going to lead us through Q4 marketing, some best practices. And then I'm going to share, which we haven't done in the past, I'm going to share some updates that are coming on the Auctiva side that are going to lead us into Q4 on the back of what Kathy's going to share with us. And then John is going to share, lead a fireside chat with the group, which is really going to be a collection of conversation between myself, Justin, and Kathy, talking about really what you guys have questions for. So I got my slides out of order already. So just to do a little bit of meeting organization, if you've just joined, up in the top left-hand corner is a Q&A button. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to put a question in there at any time. John will kind of coordinate those questions, but we also have support folks from eBay as well as Auctiva. So if you have a question that's specific to your account or specific to eBay, the question will be answered by the support team, and or they may take the question offline and email you directly to solve it. And then John's going to take the questions at the end and lead a fireside chat. I did want to share, this is the third one of these we've done this year. This, with Kathy's help, we've grown over 40% since our last invite. So nice work, Kathy. Thank you. And we think it's a great way for Auctiva, eBay, to interact with sellers, talk about what's happening in the market, share some updates, and learn some feedback from you guys of what questions you have that we can help continue to develop the platform. So this is my soft sales pitch. I always promise to keep it under a few minutes, but why are there third-party integrators that connect to applications like eBay? Well, one, and I tell people this all the time, I don't even have my mobile phone. If you have a mobile phone, the eBay app is fantastic. I use it all the time. If I sell my phone or I buy a new TV or a new pair of shoes, I may sell the legacy one on eBay, and I just use my eBay app. But what we find is as you grow and you get more than 100 listings or more than 200 listings, the phone becomes more difficult to manage those listings and grow into a business from just a hobbyist level. And that's really one of the key areas that third-party tools help. And there are a lot of third-party tools, as Kathy will share. There are many competitors that do similar things to us, but they all have a little niche that they fill. And I always encourage people to make sure they figure out what their challenge is and then seek out the tool that will help them grow their business. We believe the Auctiva app does fill a certain niche, and it is fantastic for sellers that are just graduating off of that small to medium-sized business and are growing into the medium to large business, and it helps with that growth. The second is, we do know that many sellers are beginning to sell on different channels, whether you're on Amazon or Walmart or Facebook, Etsy, that there are different integration paths. So as you start to have a inventory that you're sharing, ultimately you have to have a piece of software, a third-party app to help you grow your business in multiple channels and manage your inventory to keep your seller metrics within control so you don't have cancels and that you're processing orders in a timely manner. And then really the last is, and I kind of touched on it, as inventory grows, you're going to end up having larger updates. Say you do a 5% markdown across your inventory and you're adjusting price in bulk. Maybe you're changing titles to optimize for feedback and marketing. You start doing that stuff in bulk, and that's where you end up needing a tool to help manage your content and your inventory at large. And so that's really where third-party tools start to influence people selling. And that's where, again, Auctiva is one of many tools on the eBay ecosystem that helps sellers as they grow beyond that initial sales cycle. So again, I'll call it out. We won't discuss any specific account. I always joke with Justin, I think Kathy, I shared this with you last week when we were chatting. I used to go to eBay events and they would say, we can't answer questions about their account. And the first question was, I got a negative feedback. I'd like to talk about it. We know it happens. Put your questions in the Q&A. We will allocate, we'll probably talk amongst ourselves for about 45 minutes. And then the final 15, 20, depending on the number of questions, we'll have a bit of a fireside chat and we'll talk through those questions. So feel free to click the Q&A at the top if you have anything. While I'm talking, I'm not looking at it. So that's why we have Nate and John working those questions behind the scenes. So with that, I want to turn over to Kathy. Kathy, if you don't mind, give us just a brief introduction of yourself, and then we'll jump into the slides.
Sure. First of all, welcome everybody. We are thrilled that you are here. I want to thank Auctiva and eBay for hosting this and inviting me to join them. This is the perfect time to be planning for Q4. You don't want to be planning for Q4 in Q4. You want to be planning now. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And I just want to quickly call out, because I see a lot of friends in the group. So I want to say hello to Kyle and Lisa and Luette. Maida, I see you. Karen, wonderful to see you, and Michael. So just so many friends, and also new friends. Hi, Michelle, Mohammed, Matthew. Wonderful to see so many of you join us. This is an advanced seminar. We put it together specifically really aiming towards people with eBay stores. If you don't have an eBay store, we're welcome, welcome, welcome. But the content today will be geared more for eBay store owners and more advanced sellers on eBay. If you don't know me, I'm Kathy Terrill. I'm a top rated seller on eBay, and I've been on eBay since 2002. I know some of you have been on even longer than that. You may recognize me. I was on stage with Jamie Iannone, the CEO of eBay, at last year's eBay Open. That was me in the seller panel. I also presented on eBay listings, but I've had the great honor to present with many wonderful eBay staffers over the years. And I absolutely love really digging into search tactics on eBay, the algorithms on eBay, sourcing inventory on eBay, optimizing your eBay store, because I'm all about helping sellers to get more sales. That's it. That's what I'm interested in. And that's what the tips are for today. Richard, do I have control over the slides, or are you doing the slides?
Just give me a verbal and I'll advance them for you.
Okay, so next slide. So number one tip for Q4, before we start optimizing, before we start doing anything, is your inventory. If you don't have the right inventory for Q4, you will not be making great sales for Q4, okay? So that's the first thing to look at, is your inventory. For those of you that had an eBay store and were selling actively on eBay or on other sites, if you're coming onto eBay for Q4, I really encourage you to look at your notes from last year's Q4, whatever that is, the spreadsheets that you have, the inventory documentation you have, the sales documentation you have. Look at what sold for you, because we all have different inventory. We all have different specialties. We all have different ways of sourcing. What sold for you? And there we go. What sold for you last Q4? So what sold for you during Halloween? What sold for you all fall and winter? What sold for you for Thanksgiving? Did you have Thanksgiving themed items that sold well? Same thing for Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, winter holiday gift giving. What sold well for you? Was it women's clothing, men's clothing, holiday ornaments, outdoor decor? Was it bedding? Was it blankets? Was it winter coats? And just sort of hold that in your mind, okay? The next thing you're going to want to be doing is researching what the current trends are for this year's Q4. If you don't know, I have extensive retail background. I worked with brick and mortar retailers here in New York City with some of the biggest retailers there are. Stores like Macy's, Bloomingdale's, Crate & Barrel, Williams-Sonoma. And I'm sure, if you think about it, is that they plan their Q4 at least a year in advance. And for some of them, it's more like 18 months in advance. I remember being at one major retailer, and the July before the Q4, they already had all the inventory was set, the catalogs were set, the product pictures were set, everything was set, and they had this huge press event inviting the press to come in and seeing what they were going to be featuring for Q4. Okay. So one way to research what's going to be in demand for Q4 is to go on big retailers' websites now. I actually, it was funny because Richard and I were having a conversation a couple of days ago. Go on Home Depot. Home Depot has a major amount of Halloween merchandise up already. And take a look at it. What are they featuring? What are the price points? Are you able to source anything that's similar or along the same themes? Because if they've got it in the stores, if they've got it on their website, they are anticipating that is going to be a big seller. Okay. So then you look at your wholesale sources that you have for inventory, retailers that you have access to get your inventory, and if you have relationships with thrift stores. And I wanted to bring that up because I was at an event last month with some very large enterprise sellers, and one of them worked for a big thrift store chain. And so what he shared with me was for certain electronics, what he did was he had a local person that loved to buy, it was a certain kind of monitor. So when they came into the thrift store, they would just sell it to him directly and he would resell it. So you can look for relationships like that. If you're not sourcing wholesale, you might be able to source through a local retailer, a local thrift store chain, and get inventory that you think is going to sell for fourth quarter. But go on sites like Home Depot and look at their holiday categories. Look at the holiday merchandise. And then you go and think about how you can source similar things and look at their price margins. Another thing with Home Depot, they had a big 6-foot skeleton that was very popular last year called Skelly. I don't know if any of you saw that. I'm in Manhattan, so trust me, a 6-foot skeleton would take up like half of my living room. They sold out of Skelly. Skelly became a hot item on eBay and other sites because people were desperate to get Skelly. So that's another thing to keep an eye out. If something really looks like a hot trend, if it's worth it to pick it up, and you're going to be able to flip it on eBay. eBay product research is a tremendous tool. It's on your desktop and it's on the app. And it's good on the app, John. There is more detail on the website than there is on the app, but the app is still very handy. The data goes back 3 years. And I bring this up because if you're researching like a certain kind of ornament or wreath or, Christmas sweater or, Halloween decor, Thanksgiving platters or serving or styles, flatware, tablecloths, is product research is great because you've got 3 years of data and you've got graphs. So you can see price trends and you can see sales demand. And that's very, very helpful for sourcing inventory. Google Trends. It's a free thing from Google. You can just Google Trends and you go and you put in search terms and you'll see what's trending in search in real time all across the United States and around the world. Okay. And then my last tip for inventory sourcing insights and ideas is to keep an eye on social media. So keep an eye on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. What are people talking about? How do they want to dress this year for Halloween? How are they decorating their homes for the fall? How are they setting their table? Some people have these beautiful table settings. How are they setting their table for Thanksgiving? What are they planning on as far as entertaining? Are they traveling a lot? Because that's another great inventory to be listing and to be sourcing for the fourth quarter, is there is a lot of travel going on. So look at all that. Keep an eye on your big box retailers. Keep an eye on the big websites, the things that they are showing you, the themes that you see. For instance, like with Halloween, it's not just orange. I see white pumpkins. I see pink pumpkins. Similar with Christmas is it's not just the traditional trees with the red and the green. You will see pink trees and blue trees, and you'll see Disney trees. So again, keeping an eye on all those trends and what you are able to source. Okay. So then once you've got all that great holiday merchandise, then you're going to get busy listing. Okay. So Richard, can I have my next slide? Great. Huge part of listing, and again, this is going to be eBay store specific, is your store categories. I was actually meeting with some sellers today online and we were talking about store categories. Store categories are often underutilized by sellers. They sort of put everything under big monster categories. And by doing that, like everything women's clothing with no subcategories, it makes it very hard to browse. Same thing with Christmas. They will have a Christmas category, but everything's in there. There's no subcategories. And what you may not realize with eBay is you have 300 store categories, which is a lot. And that includes subcategories. So your main store category is called a level 1, and you can have 2 subcategories under a level 1. So it could be women's clothing and then dresses, women's clothing, dresses, tops. So you can have multiple second categories underneath your main category. Christmas, then subcategory could be decorations. Subcategory might be Christmas stockings, might be Christmas sweaters. So think about your inventory, what you're selling, what you're going to be having, and think about how you can set up your eBay store with the categories and subcategories to make it easy to browse and shop with you. Jamie Iannone talked about repeat buyers and increasing shopping cart size in the second quarter earnings call that just came out, which was great news for all of us because eBay earnings are up. If I remember correctly, gross merchandise volume is up over 15%. So it's like, yay, eBay, because we're a part of that. Is your store categories being set up in a way so it's easy to browse helps you to increase your shopping cart size. It also helps you to get repeat buyers because they come back and they're like, oh yeah, the Christmas category, and they hop over there and they're able to browse and shop with you. So don't overlook that. I always think of Macy's also because I was at Macy's for a long time, and Macy's Herald Square, that is the Macy's where Santa stops with the Thanksgiving Day parade. It is huge. And let me tell you, Macy's has their store categories set up very, very well with all the signs so you can navigate around the store, because there's a 7th Avenue part to Macy's, and then there's the Broadway side to Macy's, which is where Santa stops. So their store categories are set up very, very well so people can easily navigate and find, more moderate price clothing, the designer clothing, this designer's, the jewelry, the perfume, everything is set up. So when people come in, they can go to the department that has the things that they want. So really set up your categories. It's a huge, huge help. If you don't have a store yet, or if you're thinking about a store, the cost is much lower than you might think, because several years ago, eBay added a starter store. And if you don't do a yearly subscription, which you might want to start just monthly to sort of dip your toe in the water and see if you want to do it, it's $7.95. And then if you opt into a yearly subscription, then you're billed $4.95. So take a look at that. It's very, very reasonable. You get the store categories with all levels of eBay stores. All levels of eBay stores have the same 300 categories, okay? And when you are setting them up, again, this is going to depend on what your inventory is you think about what good seasonal categories should I use? Like you may not have anything for Thanksgiving, so then that's not going to be a category for you, but you might have great winter clothing, and you'll set that up in your store categories. You might have wonderful Christmas ornaments, and perhaps Christmas ornaments is your big level 1 store category because you have so many, you might have several hundred. And then your subcategories for Christmas ornaments might be the different brands. If you've got questions on this, because I love store categories, my sellers know this, please feel free to pop things in the question because the team will be pulling them together for me, and I'd be glad to answer that for you. But really think through your eBay store categories. Bonus tip is they're also very, very helpful when you're setting up things like sales, or if you choose to do promoted listings, your promoted store, you can actually pick a category to put into that promotion. You can use categories for running sales and for doing coupons. So keep an eye on that. Okay. And again, any questions on this, just pop it in and the team will be pulling it together and I'll be glad to answer them for you. Okay, Richard, our next slide. So you have fabulous inventory, which is going to be very much in demand, and you're going to be selling, and shipping. You have incredible store categories that when people land on your store, they go, oh, and they just jump in and they start shopping with you. And then as much as we love eBay, and eBay is working very hard with eBay search and with AI within eBay to drive buyers to us, It's also good to do some work on your own to get buyers to you. And buyers are all over. And buyers are on social media. They are on Facebook, they are on Instagram, they are on TikTok, they are on YouTube, and they are on Pinterest. And Pinterest is one of my favorite social medias because yes, it's social media because people are there being social, but it is very much a search engine. People use Pinterest to search, to discover, and to plan, like, oh, I'm going to be redecorating my bathroom, you know, and they set up a board for their bathroom and they start pinning towels and they start pinning light fixtures and they start pinning different bubble baths they're going to want in their bathroom. So things like that. Same thing with kitchen. They'll be planning their Thanksgiving dinner. They'll do a board for Thanksgiving and they start looking around Pinterest for the perfect napkin, tablecloth, flatware setting. They're planning a vacation, perfect suitcase, perfect clothing for the vacation. This is what Pinterest is all about. You can get a Pinterest account for free. You set up a profile. It can have a link to your eBay store. You set up boards. You can theme your boards similar to your store categories. That's like, yay, we're doing multi-purpose here. So that way I can then pin to my board, which is my Christmas ornaments or my Christmas sweaters or my Halloween decor or my clothing for women or my clothing for kids or my toys. And I can be using the same category title that I use on eBay for my board titles on Pinterest. It is free to use. You pin your products. eBay even offers some automation. It is very simple to pin from eBay. There's share buttons right on your products. If you have team members, you can put a team member in charge, or again, you can set up automation. And again, feel free to ask questions. I could talk about Pinterest all day. Maida's in here. She knows, like, oh, Kathy's talking about Pinterest. I could talk Pinterest all day long. Again, the other thing with Pinterest, which you may not be aware of, when you share something on Facebook, and Facebook's great, it lasts maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. I mean, if something goes viral, that's great. Instagram tends to be even shorter, and TikTok even shorter. Pinterest pins last a long time. So right now in August, people are pinning for Christmas. There's always like a season ahead, similar to the way retailers plan. So that's what's great about Pinterest is you're literally always like the next season ahead. So as you're listing your holiday inventory, you're listing your fourth quarter inventory, you also start pinning it to Pinterest to drive traffic to your eBay store items. So, and I'm going to do all the key takeaways, and then we're going to hop over and listen to some wonderful tips on promoted listings. So Richard, the next slide. There we go. So plan for your Q4 now. You want to be listing your Halloween now. You want to be listing your Thanksgiving now, your fall and winter clothing now. Also, don't forget people go to wonderful, full warm weather places over the holidays too. So you also want to get those nice bathing suits up and beach towels up. But you really want to start planning it now and getting your listings up now and go over to the big retailers. It's huge help to see what their categories are called, how they're setting up their stores, the kind of trends that they are stocking in their stores. And perhaps you're a vintage seller, so you can look at what the more modern trends are, and you can, in your mind, translate that for the vintage that you're offering. Sourcing tips is really everywhere is full of inventory. So again, wholesalers, but also brick and mortar retailers. And brick and mortar retailers that are smaller oftentimes are very glad to sell you things in bulk. So don't overlook your brick and mortar retailers. And again, the thrift stores sometimes will make an agreement with you and sell you things in bulk. Take the time now when it's a little bit slower, because once we get into October, November, it gets really, really, really busy. And really take a look at your store and set up those categories so that they serve you and they make you really, really, really easy to shop. You'll hear the term in retail, which is frictionless shopping, which means it's really, really easy. And that's what you want, that when they land in your store, they're not like, where is everything? Like, what on earth do they sell? Like, I see a couple of things, but I really don't understand what they're selling. Your categories make it really, really, really clear. And then as you have time, set yourself up a Pinterest account and get busy pinning. Again, using your store categories for your board titles, which is a great shortcut I'm glad to give you. And get busy pinning so that you're going to have that traffic coming now and all through fourth quarter and also into the next year for your eBay store. And again, questions on any of this, just pop it in and the team will pull it together for us. Thanks, Richard.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Kathy. I'm going to tee this up to make it a little more conversational. And it was going back, you were talking about working with big brands, and that Todd and I's background is we launched a lot of very large brands, and almost day one, we opened an eBay store. And it kind of hit me while you were talking that many sellers or most sellers that join eBay list an item as their first item. They don't open a store. Can you talk through, and it hit me on that of how do you use your eBay store? I understood your category advantage in the promotions, but if you pull it back one step, if I'm a small to medium or even large seller, what do I do with my eBay store? Why do I what's the function? Where do you use it post sale? Do you use it pre-sale? Can you just talk a little bit about why eBay stores really exist, and then how you use them to grow your business?
It really helps you organize your inventory. Without a store, if you go to somebody's ID who does not have a store, all you see is a long line of listings. Okay. There's no organization to it. I always say it'd be like walking into Macy's and all the inventory's on the floor. I mean, you'd be like, okay, well, like, where do I go? What do they have? So I cannot overemphasize how important it is to do store categories. Beyond that, it's branding. And you may think, well, I only have, 400 or 500 listings, or I sell soup to nuts, or, I'm sourcing through auctions. I never quite know what I'm going to have. But if you think about it, you do. You might be more moderate price, more luxury. You love really unique, vintage, wonderful collectibles. And that's your vibe. That's your brand. And you can express that in the name of your store. And you can also express that in your store header, which is that lovely piece of real estate you have when people land on your store. You can put an image there. And now with AI, it is like so easy to do that, which expresses your store. So that way, when people land, like I land on Richard's store and I go, oh, he sells golf equipment. Okay, so this is a golf store. You know immediately where you've landed. Then you've got the store categories. And then within the eBay store, there's a huge array of promotional tools that you have. You can ask questions about it if you want. I mean, we could do like 3 hours just on eBay promotional tools, but you have the ability to do coupons. You have the ability to run sale events. Again, just like a brick and mortar retailer. You pick the percentage, you are in control. eBay does not tell you the percentage for your sale. It doesn't tell you how long you run your sale. So you have the ability to run sales, you have the ability for coupons, you have the ability for store categories. And then within that, there's more advanced tools, things like leveraging buyer groups. You've got a store newsletter. So again, if you've got more questions on eBay stores, feel free. I don't want to go off on tangents because I'm not sure what people are interested in, but feel free to put it in the Q&A. And
there were some questions. So Kathy, and
sure.
I'm going back a little while, is when you list an item on eBay, you get to assign 2 eBay categories.
No, so you have one selling category. I don't want people spending money that they shouldn't have to spend. With eBay, you have a selling category. So that's eBay's category, like women's clothing. Okay. Then you have 2 store, that's part of your listing. There's no extra cost. You have 2 store categories. You can then list the item in. So for instance, let's say it's like the red top. So I could list it under Christmas, women's tops, and then also women's tops or women's clothing, whatever your store categories are. But you have 2 store categories that you can use, and then one eBay selling category, which is overall.
Correct. And then you can use your store categories to organize your products when you put them into promotions and other things.
Correct. Yeah, so eBay know what your item is. Realize that all of that is being fed into eBay. So they're seeing your store categories, they're seeing where the item's going besides the overall category that you're listing in, the eBay selling category. I didn't mean to run over you on that, but if people list into eBay selling categories, there's an extra fee for that. There's only one selling category included in the listing. And then if you want to use an extra eBay selling category, which sometimes can be appropriate for items, there is an extra fee for that. So I just don't want people getting extra fees that they're not aware of, that they're getting put on their account.
100%. I just was going to the ability. You have the ability of 2 and 2 in the listing setup, but there are fees associated. Excellent. That's great. I appreciate that. And I know we'll circle back. I know Nate and John are working through questions. So I'm going to pivot now a little bit to the eBay ads. And sorry, being the organizer, it takes me a second. So I'm going to talk about really marketing on eBay, but I'm going to start with the basic concept. And this goes back many, many years. When you sell on eBay, sales beget sales. So what does that mean? Is if you list your shirt, once you get one sale, the next sale is easier. And that's an important concept because that gets a boost in the search algorithm. It gets a boost in visibility on the site. And the search algorithm on eBay, as well as many other sites, is learning that goes, oh, people are interested in this. It's selling. Let me move it up the sales cycle up to the above the fold. So you have to think of that as a general concept when you think of your inventory, that you want to get your products up the search algorithm so that folks find it, because there are many, I think I saw 135, I don't know, it was sellers. Anyway, there's millions of listings and you're fighting for that placement in the search algorithm. One of the things that helps you fight for that placement is using marketing on eBay. And most, if not all, platforms, whether you're on Amazon or Walmart, have a way to spend money to promote your product to get better placement in search. So if you're on eBay and you type something in the search bar and you're looking for an item, you'll see a list of products across the page, very much like if you're doing a Google search, to say these are promoted items, promoted search, promoted products that elevate those products, and folks are paying to be up there. And there are two very, very basic differences in the type of marketing. One on eBay, which was what they originally started with, which is it's pay for the cost of the sale. So if you say, I will pay an extra 5% if this item sells, it's a low risk. You only pay the 5% if the item sells, and you can set that percentage based on the item, the category, of how much more you would want to pay if the item converts. What is newer and has come out in a more recent time is the more aligned to Google and Amazon of you're paying per click. So what this is you're paying for a keyword. If you say, in it would be a broad search term, shirt. But if you said, I want to do red Nike shirt, it's a more specific term, still pretty broad. You're able to pay for every time somebody clicks on that listing from the search page, and it lands someone on your product, you're paying for the cost of that click. So that's the overarching two different paths that you have to choose from, and whether you're doing a general or what is called a priority or CPC, cost per click campaign. Both have a place, and it does depend on the type of inventory that you are listing. In some cases, and I was pausing to think of what are the things that matter. Sales velocity can matter, relevancy to seasonality. So as Kathy pointed out, if we're coming into Halloween, a month ago, Halloween stuff was just starting to sell. Now we're starting to ramp pretty quickly. As Kathy called out, I went to Home Depot and they're filled with Halloween stuff a week ago, which was the middle of July. So people are starting to put that product out. So you have a decision to make of whether you go down the cost per sale or the cost per click path. And what both of them allow you to do is decide how to focus your marketing efforts on eBay to get your products highlighted. The advantage to pay-per-click is you're able to target specific keywords, specific values that you believe are going to drive interest in your product. Now, once you have decided the path that you want to go, you have a choice in how you get specific in the words that you're chasing. So a smart campaign is going to allow you to say, hey, eBay, here's my product, go bid on the terms. So again, if I'm using my red Nike shirt, they're going to pick what terms that someone may search for that would help find your product. So obviously the word shirt or Nike red is going to help them, but it also may be sports shirt or athletic shirt apparel. There are other words that are going to get added to a smart campaign. in past lives when we were doing marketing, a lot of times we would start with smart campaigns to see what the algorithm would come up with and suggest, and you would see some feedback on what keywords were the smart algorithm was using. And then you could take those keywords and put them into a manual targeted campaign to go, oh, it found out that athletic red was more popular than Nike, or converted better in the marketing conversion. And so then you would set up a manual campaign to go after very specific keywords where you're managing your budget to try to optimize the traffic to your listing. So just to keep us on pace, you kind of have two paths. You can do a cost per sale or cost per click. So you got two ways to pay. Then you can decide, do you want eBay to help decide what keywords are going to drive products to your, customers to your product, or are you going to enter the keywords that are going to drive the traffic? Once you've made those two decisions, then you have to decide how to bid on those prices. So on dynamic bidding, you are giving eBay a range of bid on my items in this particular range. So on the cost per sale, you go, hey, I'm willing to do 3 to 5%. On the cost per click, you're saying, hey, I'm willing to bid 2 cents or 3 cents or 5 cents, or I'm willing to bid in a range. And in the dynamic, then you're letting eBay choose that bidding price. If you've ever sold on Google or done Google ads, those three decisions are very similar to what you do on Google. You pick your product, you decide how automated you want Google to be on the keyword selection, you set a budget, and then you let it run. Or you can go in and you can put in very specific keywords. You can put an exact to the penny amount you want it to spend. So on eBay, what they've built out over the last couple of years, again, starting with the cost per sale, which many sellers tried that when it first came out. Many folks had success with it. And as eBay's continued to grow its marketing muscle, they are now allowing folks to do the cost per click. And it does create a market of opportunity on the marketing side of how you get your products, how much money you spend, and how you get your product the first sale or the next sale to help it convert. Before I jump into how Auctiva's thinking about that, Kathy, anything you would add as people are thinking about doing their ad structure going into holiday?
You really got to look at your inventory. My best understanding with promoted listings general, which is the one that most everybody tends to use, and I really do encourage everybody to use promoted listings general. I think it's an excellent product. I know it's like, ouch, here we go, paying more fees, but it is effective. You do have control over the rate. It's 2% or higher. It does help you to rank better in search. And again, when we were talking about sourcing inventory, to look at inventory that has the margins where you can do the promotions, because truly, as much as, we would all love to not pay fees, is every platform. And when I talk to my friends, my big sellers on other platforms, is basically every platform, it's pretty much pay to play now. So it's just looking at that. I just factor it into as part of the cost of doing business on eBay. So promoted listings general, I really advocate for everything. I just think it's a great product. And then it's just a matter of figuring out percentages. Then the next thing with promoted listings priority, which is the pay per click, is more for multi-quantity. So sellers in here were, for instance, like Skelly Skeleton. Let's say I have 50 of them. And because that is a huge keyword, Skelly Skeleton, something like a priority campaign could really be effective for that. Or if you sell things with really good brand names. So let's say you have, 100 North Face products or 90, Nike sneakers, a priority campaign can be really effective for that because you're bidding for those keywords. So again, it's back to the inventory. What's your inventory? What are your margins? And if you hear noise, it's New York City because I'm in a lively neighborhood. And then picking the campaign that's going to work best for you and what your margins are is really the big thing on that. But again, you have the choice, you're in control. And even on things that are pay per click, don't feel like eBay's going to walk off with your checking account. Is you set your daily budget, you set what your campaign's about, and eBay stays within those parameters.
Excellent. Yeah, and I was to tie it back to the comment I made at the beginning is when you list inventory, getting that first sale or getting the
Yeah.
sales going, marketing can really make a difference. It doesn't mean you have to spend marketing on every sale as you get into season, but getting your new inventory, that
Yeah.
first conversion, getting customer feedback, getting that sales snowball going, that's really where the paid marketing can help.
It's a big, big, big help. So that way you stay ranking well in search, you keep attracting customers to you. Because we all know this is, as you're selling regularly, it keeps bringing you traffic to all of your items. So that you want.
Excellent. So I'm going to spend, this will be the only time I've done selfless promotion. So we are working to integrate the priority listings into Auctiva. I have some pictures just to share. I think we're on track to release the priority listing support for Auctiva customers on the 17th. I want to share just some screenshots that will show where we're headed on the promoted listing side. So we're somewhat like I talked through the decision that you'll make. You'll pick the general, the priority, which is the pay per sale or pay per click. Then from there, you're going to pick your bidding strategy of whether you're doing dynamic bidding. And then this is where we're pulling in information from eBay. So if you've used Auctiva, this is where you've got your listing stored or saved, and you're able to manage this now within the tool. I thought I had one more slide. And then from there, you can set your bids. You can assign specific keywords. As you can see, you have exact, broad, or negative. And I'll just spend a little time. If you've never done pay-per-click marketing, what you're doing here is from a negative term, you're removing that term so that if somebody searches for that specific term, you can remove that value. It's a little tough since we've repeated some terms in here, but you're allowed to control where you want, if this exact term is returned, then you can bid a specific amount. Broad term would be more like books or Harry Potter books, where it's a broad match based on somebody searching. So we're going to release this in about 2 weeks within the Auctiva community. We're actually going to release it to all paying users and non-paying. So if you tokenize and create an account within Auctiva, you're going to be able to try out and test promoted listings within our platform through most of the holiday season. So we'll send out a reminder to anybody that joined to check it out and give us feedback. But we think it helps our sellers sell more, and that's why we wanted to make sure that we're keeping up and investing where eBay is headed, and certainly adding the priority campaigns was one of the next things we wanted to accomplish. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. We're almost right on time. John, we'll let you run the Q&A, and we'll put Justin, Kathy, and myself at your mercy of the questions from the team.
I just wanted to say quickly with Auctiva adding the pay-per-click advertising to their dashboard, what's helpful with that is the more different places you have to go to your business is the more time you're spending running your business instead of other things you could be doing, like sourcing inventory, shipping, time with your family. So in having the pay-per-click advertising in your Auctiva dashboard that you're looking at for your data, it's just one less step that you have to do, and it just makes it a lot easier. Again, when pay-per-click advertising is correct for your business.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I'll second that too. I think it's great that Auctiva is integrating this,
Yes.
working with them to do this. It's just an amazing, the potential to stay within the Auctiva ecosystem and do all of your eBay functions is just, it's huge. So save you some time, hopefully create some more efficiencies for you as sellers.
One less
Justin,
window to keep open.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Justin, I know we were hoping to have somebody from ads join, and schedules didn't align this time. Anything you wanted to add before we jump into the Q&A?
I think Kathy hit on a lot of things that are extremely important for sellers to understand, and there's no need to overcomplicate it. I think, read through the documentation, learn the tools, understand your inventory first and foremost. I think that is huge. You don't want to just start throwing ads on everything, but you do want to make sure you have maybe some always on visibility, right? Maybe you have hero products if you have the deep quantity in the Skelly example. If you have 50 of those skeletons, hey, an ad campaign on that on an ongoing basis until it sells out, or maybe it helps you replenish that inventory, that just gets you even higher search ranking over time, organically, as well as with the promoted listing. So I think that's one of the things I would highlight is there's testing, be willing to test. Nobody's going to get everything right the first time, but you have to be willing to test, but you can keep the parameters safe so it doesn't eat into your margins too much.
And I'm just going to pick up on this also because Maida's in here, who is a dear friend of mine, and I happen to know a lot of the things that she sells. So I know that her and her husband, Bill, they have a wonderful eBay store where they sell high-end collectibles. They had a wonderful assortment of G.I. Joes. And I think of something like G.I. Joe as a very great keyword, and it's a searchable term, and it's also something people are very familiar with. So let's say when Maida and Bill are doing their listings, they discover, there might be a bunch of G.I. Joes, and, theirs is very unusual because it's vintage and this and that, but you might want to stand out a little bit more or attract people even more, even though they write very optimized, wonderful listings. So something like that, even though you're a vintage seller or a unique one-of-a-kind seller, if you have a good amount of listings, and again, I always think of like 40, 50 or more, but with great keywords like Barbie or Disney or G.I. Joe, Spider-Man just came out. I'm sure Spider-Man is a massive keyword right now on eBay. It can be worth it to do an advanced campaign. Again, you are controlling your budget. You are controlling what you're paying for your keywords, just to give it that little oomph to get it going, like what Richard was saying and what Justin was saying. So it helps you start to rank, and then you can scale back, or you could give it more like, hey, I'm going to really blow this up because I'm doing so great. But think about it for my unique one-of-a-kind sellers. Again, when you have a bunch of items with really great keywords, it can be worth it to do a pay-per-click advertising campaign. Again, watching your budget and your margins.
Excellent. All right, John, you there?
I'm here. Thank you, everybody. And Q&A still remains open. So as we're talking and asking some of the questions that have come in, if there's anything that you would still like to ask, pop it in that Q&A. If we happen to run out of time, one of us on the call will make sure to reach out to you personally to make sure that we can get that addressed for you.
We love questions.
We do. And kind of with that, we got a number of great ones. Thank you to everybody who has already submitted a question. And we have a few here, and I've actually taken 3 questions, one for each of Kathy, Justin, and Richard, and lumped them into a category that I'm going to call, sometimes you have to ask the hard question, because I think that there's a number of questions that sellers are asking right now that maybe resonate more with a lot of people on this call that just haven't put it in the Q&A. So I have one of those that I've picked out for each one of you. Justin, I'm going to start with you if you don't mind. This question is, from eBay's perspective, what separates sellers who consistently grow from those who struggle to gain momentum on eBay?
Oh, that's a good question. I think being proactive, that is probably the biggest thing I would say. With your inventory, one, we've said it, know your inventory, know what you have, and kind of know what's selling. So product research is one of those proactive steps you can take in the downtimes when you have the ability to go and do some deeper research on the products that you're selling. What are they selling for? What's the velocity? What can I forecast for my own business? How much margin am I leaving on the table if I'm not, if I'm underselling, or if I have prices that are too low, or if I have prices that are too high and I'm missing out on those sales. So I think be proactive. I think use the eBay tools together as well. So we've talked a lot about ads today, but also there's, the discounts manager, the ability to turn on sell events, different things like that. Those will help conversion, in addition to things like seller initiated offers, which you can kind of automate in this day and age. And you can basically just say, hey, if a buyer has watched an item, I want to send an offer out that gives them a 5% discount on that item. And that's something that you can set up in the background, and it's just it will help you operate in a more streamlined fashion. So I think using those eBay tools together helps sellers kind of differentiate from the pack. The eBay store is also another one. I'm so glad that Kathy was highlighting that today, because the eBay store is, I think, often underutilized. I think the ability to have a seller newsletter, people can subscribe, basically follow your store. It's a way to engage your buyers in a way that will keep them coming back to you and create that good relationship with them. So I think using all the tools together is probably the biggest thing that I would highlight.
Thanks, Justin.
And if that's a lot of information for you, because I know we're all at different levels, is try one thing. Yeah. Right? If you've never done a store newsletter, say, you know what, I'm going to try this. Okay. Like, let's say I have people come to me, they go, well, I ran a sale, 4 months ago and it didn't work. You tried it once, maybe try it again. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything. The discount is what you, I mean, obviously you're offering a discount, so you're going to take less, less of a sale price, but eBay's not charging you above your store subscription to run a sale. There's no added fee. Try it again. Maybe it was just that month, that time, the week, maybe you ran one on the weekend and your people are weekday shoppers. Try it again. I mean, I've done sales 3 and 4 times, and the 4th time, all of a sudden you get $400 in sales. Try it again. Mix it up. And if, Justin has that wonderful list, you're like going, pick one thing. You know what? I'm going to do a coupon. I've never done a coupon. I did a coupon last month, and you know what? It worked really well, and then I forgot to do it again. Try one thing.
Yes. Yep. And test, right? Test.
Yes.
You'll never know if you don't test, and you'll learn more from that test. If you fail, you probably learn more than if that test succeeded the first time. So test and iterate. Yes.
Excellent answer, both of you. Thank you. So it actually ties in really well for the question I have for you, Kathy, and maybe we can ram the point home. Is the question was, what are the biggest mistakes, especially in marketing, you see eBay sellers making as a head, specifically in this case into the holiday season, but maybe just in general?
Really very much what Justin and I were just talking about, which is to not try things. Or you'll listen, because you'll be on social media or whatever, and somebody else, coupons, they never work. I send offers out, nobody takes my offer. But you don't know for you. And maybe the offer didn't work 3 or 4 times, and that 5th and 6th time it does work. Again, if you don't try, you don't know. And people are lovely at giving advice and saying, do this, don't do that. Try it for yourself. For instance, Disney, I'm going to share my Disney story. I can't sell Disney. I don't know why. Anytime I source Disney, it just doesn't sell for me. I have no idea why. Just Disney and I do not get along. So you know what? I don't sell Disney. But I don't tell other people, never sell Disney. Like from Susan's in here. Susan, don't sell Disney. Karen, don't sell. Just for whatever reason, it just doesn't sell for me. But other things do sell for me. I'm in New York City. I know Broadway very well because my husband's show business and I am. I do really well with theatrical memorabilia because I know it. I'll know the stars. I'll know the theaters. I can use great keywords. So I sell a lot. Somebody else might come across some theater memorabilia and they can't get it sold. Try for yourself, like what Justin said. Test, test, test. And something may have worked for you 2 years ago and then it dies. It's like not working. It's like, man, this is just not working for me. You let it go. It's like, okay, that's not working. And try something else. And then a year later, you know what? Let me go back, like coupons. Like, let's say they worked really well for you and then all of a sudden they're just not working. Let it go. Move to sale events, seller initiated offers. And then it's a year later, I haven't done a coupon for a year. Let me try it again. And man, all of a sudden you get a $300 sale. You're like, yay, I love coupons. And then off you go.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. Great answer. The last kind of hard question here goes to Richard. And I'm going to add my own little nuance onto it. To the person who asked, I appreciate you letting me do that. Basically, the question is, I'm a seller well-established on eBay, and coming into the holiday season, when does it make sense, both in terms of my own business and in terms of the calendar, to consider expanding into additional marketplaces?
It's a good question. And I think Kathy hit on this already, is now. Like if you are going to expand to other channels, we know there's many options. It takes time to get the accounts open. It takes time to get your product set up. I was just thinking while Justin and Kathy were talking that one of the biggest opportunities we've seen looking across our platform is sellers not getting all their listings live. Working through errors. When you post an item, make sure you look at the error messages that you get. Make sure your items are in the right category. So when you start to expand to other channels, they operate differently. They have different rules. They have different permissions. So just like eBay, if you've ever listed something and you've had a warning to say you're not allowed to sell it, the same thing exists on other channels. So it can take quite a bit of time and effort to get a catalog live in its entirety on multiple channels. And that's, so we're in mid-August, as Kathy called it. I used to work at Toys R Us. They we were already in holiday season now because back to school has started. You roll into Halloween, you trip right into Thanksgiving, and then next thing you know, you're shipping Christmas packages.
People are shipping. People are shopping Halloween now. It actually started last month. I was seeing people sharing about different things they're buying. I think it's also about their budget to extend, the budget, and they're shopping for Christmas now. I read study after study that typically most people have made their first Christmas holiday purchase in August. And it seems like this year people have been starting even earlier. So now absolutely is the time to be getting on another platform if you're thinking of that, which is a good idea. Because it's always good to expand. It's always good to sell more places. But get your holiday merchandise now. Get your categories set up now. Yeah.
Great. Richard, thank you. Kathy, thanks for the backup on that as well. I have at least 3 more questions I'd like to try and fit into time here. The next 2 are for you, Kathy. This one's from Ellen. She says, Kathy, do you recommend changing your eBay store categories to the season, special interest, or new inventory too?
So not change, Ellen, I would add. And again, remember with store categories, they will not show in the left navigation bar unless they have inventory in them, okay? But I would absolutely add seasonal because people land on your store and they go, oh, Christmas, oh, Thanksgiving, or fall, or whatever, it is. And yes, as you are adding new inventory, and this is something I do with my private clients, is take a look at your store categories and is there a really good store category for this new inventory that you're adding, or should you create a new one or add a subcategory? Okay. But again, if it's 1 or 2 items, you always go, it's best to try to find a category to put it into. But again, like Alston, you get a bunch of great Christmas ornaments, like 30, 40, 50, that, or even 10, 15, depending on it, is then yes, to do a category. But if it's just 1 or 2 items, unless they're very high end, like Alston, I'm getting Tiffany lamps, then you try to figure out a more general category you can put it into. But yeah, I think it's great. It gives you a feel. They land, they see your inventory, and they know where to go to shop with you. And that's what you want.
And I was going to say too, Kathy, one of the good ideas is you update your store category names, but then also feature them at the top, right?
Yes.
You can do featured categories at the top of your store. So whatever you want the buyers to see.
Those
first,
are the tiles across the top,
Yeah.
you guys. So you've got store categories, and then you'll notice in the store you have like marketing banners and tabs that you can use. Again, that's part of your store. Justin, those are great. Yes, featured categories up at the top.
Excellent. Thank you. And Ellen, I hope that answered your question. If you have any further feedback, pass it along to us. We'll get it over to Kathy and get you an answer. I'll give you a minute to catch your breath, Kathy. I'll direct the next one to Justin, and we can come back to you. This is more of me combining a number of the questions that were in the Q&A, and thanks for already jumping on some, Justin. But maybe just for the larger group, can you give us a high-level overview of Depop and eBay and how that's working and where you stand today?
Yeah. So it's really early on. The acquisition just settled on July 30th. And so there were some regulatory hurdles to get over with the US as well as UK. And that all landed and it's all complete. The acquisition has been announced. It's public. Everything is there. The Depop team, we actually saw them on an all hands today for the first time. And so I know that there will be a lot of work over the next few months, really the rest of this year, in deciding how to integrate Depop and eBay together. As it sits today, there's no plans to turn Depop into just an eBay category or something like that. Depop will stay a standalone marketplace. Sellers can still sell on Depop and not on eBay, or it can sell on eBay and not on Depop. So there's no combination of the two just yet. I don't know what the future holds there. We'll have to wait and see, but I think it's going to start off as we're trying to capitalize on the historical performance of Depop, which is so good with younger shoppers and especially in the pre-love fashion space.
Excellent, thank you. And I know that there were a number of more technical questions around cross-posting and those kind of things, and sounds like there's more to come on that. So please, feel free to reach out to our support, eBay support, and the more that we can do to smooth that transition, I think will be great.
I was going to say too, one of the things that I'll be working on personally is looking to how can we help companies like Auctiva also integrate with Depop to do the cross-posting across. So that's one of the things that I'll be looking at in the near future as well.
Justin, that's great. They're going to make that available because people are definitely interested in that. Like the
100%.
Depop people wanting to come to eBay and eBay wanting
Yep.
to go to Depop, and just to make the whole thing easier.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, it's exciting every time any of us, whether that's on the eBay side or the Auctiva side, have a chance to help our sellers get more places and reach more eyeballs. That's just a great win. So Kathy, I had one last question in here, and we can open up, see if anything else has come in. This is from William in our Q&A. And this is a little bit broader, but the question was, what is the best way to get a wholesaler or distributor to help out my eBay business?
William, what a great question. One is, honestly, a couple of wholesalers that I picked up is on the internet. But don't buy lists. I'm going to tell you right now, don't buy lists. Is go on the internet for the product that you're interested in. And it's best to do more of a type. Like if you look at Under Armour, I'm going to be, you know, it's just tough for something that's a big brand. You know, Nike, it's going to be tough because it's a big brand. So you're going to want to go more for types. So perhaps like, you know, winter coats, sneakers, that kind of, and you search and search and search. The wholesalers are not going to be on the first couple of pages. It's going to be much further down, and you can find people that way. And the other thing, and tell me where you are in the United States if you want. So for instance, I'm here in New York. If you're near a big city, if you're near Chicago or Atlanta or Boston, Dallas, Houston, San Jose, Los Angeles, Kansas City, there's always wholesale events in the big cities. Like here in New York City, they're at the Javits Center, which is the big conference center here in the city. And I can go on the Javits website. If you're in the New York area, do it. But you'll know what the big conference is for the nearest city to you. Go on their website and you will see there's all these wholesale shows. There's other things too, like at the Javits, they have college graduations and things like that. But you'll see wholesale shows and it'll have the name of the show. Like it'll be gym equipment. And let's say you're interested in gym equipment. It'll have a link and you go to that site and it will show you the criteria for getting into the show. For instance, the toy show, which is a huge toy event in New York City that I wish I could get into. It is incredibly hard to get into the toy show. You have to be a toy seller at a certain volume, yada, yada, yada. It's not like something for a new seller, but there are events that you will see and you'll look at the qualifications, which is that you have an online presence, which you do with an eBay store. And then you look at the paperwork or the qualifications they want. And really, that's one of the easiest ways to go through a convention center. Then you get permission to attend the show. And then you attend the show and you find out what the criteria is to make a purchase from the different vendors at the show. Some, it'll be a low threshold. Typically, it's going to be around $400 or $500. Some, it's going to be higher, a couple of $1,000s. So just realize when you go to buy wholesale, it's not $50. It's going to be easily $400 or $500 for your first purchase. It can be higher depending on the type of good that you're looking for. But get out there and get looking. Wholesale accounts are great, great, great to get.
He did respond, Kathy, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but he did respond, and he's based out of Texas and selling cards and collectibles from Magic the Gathering. So it seemed to tie pretty well into what you were just saying there.
I was going to say, and cards is a massive, wonderful category, and there's tons of card shows. I'm assuming you're talking like baseball cards, sporting cards,
Magic the Gathering type cards, yeah.
So, and then you're looking for the card shows, and then you're going there and you're going to want to connect with the larger dealers. And a lot of times they're very willing to sell to you. So take a look at that. The other way to source, you're going to love this, is eBay Live. I got to tell you, check out eBay Live, because a lot of these people are selling such a huge volume. They have so much stuff they're selling that they have, you know, auctions starting at $1 and things like that. And if you know your inventory, you can get in there and snag some really, really good buys. So I'm telling you, look at eBay Lives, especially the ones at weird hours of the day, like not at lunchtime, not at dinner time. So like early in the morning, late at night, because they're going 24 hours a day now, as far as I can see. And
really
take a look at,
yeah,
and there's a lot of card, right, Justin?
So many cards.
There's a ton of card shows, and they've got to move merchandise, and they're getting it at prices where they can afford to sell to you. So take a look at those. That can be a great way to source.
Yeah, I will second that. And I've been looking at eBay live shows, thinking I could probably buy some of that product and then resell it on the eBay marketplace. And I think there's a lot of other buyers that are doing the same thing. It's a very possibly a good sourcing avenue for you. Yeah, it's great.
Great answer. And you know, to preface one other question that we had in here, the copy of this webinar will be posted onto YouTube as well as sent out. And if eBay Live sounds intriguing to you, the last webinar we did was actually specifically about eBay Live. Justin joined us for that as well. So that may be, if that's a path that you are thinking about taking down to source product. I don't know that we go specifically into the larger purchases on that, but certainly you'll learn a lot more about eBay Live if you haven't already, and it'll be right here next to this webinar as well. So feel free to check that out, learn more about eBay Live, and see if it makes sense for you from a sourcing perspective.
It's just real quick, I won't go long, but at eBay Live, there's going to be a lot of updates to eBay Live over the next couple of months. It's already starting. It's going to open up to more sellers eventually. So most sellers will be able to actually go on and start creating live streams and sell on the eBay Live channel. So
Justin, that's wonderful news, because I get messaged all the time about that. So thank you.
So there will be announcements about that soon. I put a link into the announcement board in the chat. So that will be one of the things that probably gets announced there. But just be on the lookout. Go to ebay.com/eBay Live, I believe, is what the URL is. Yeah.
And there was a question about video, and I think we talked about this last week. Justin, is today, I believe the video limit for eBay is pretty short. It's like 15 second, like it's pretty short amount of time. And I know we were talking about, like with the parts and accessories folks, that they want to be able to add videos that are instructional. So I know, if somebody asked about our support, there's a conversation overarching with eBay of how to get more video content in. We talked with the dev team there about not just uploading like we do with images today, where we're hosting them and then helping load them. That many of you have content on YouTube and Vimeo and other platforms. We were talking with the eBay folks about how do we gather the links and then allow those to be embedded, if you will, on the site versus rehosting them. So there are conversations around video, but it's probably going to take a little more time before that's ready.
Yes, I think that's a great assessment. I think coming in, maybe hopefully in 2027, you'll be able to share links as opposed to have to upload the video. Right now, as it sits, you have to upload videos to eBay. eBay does a lot of moderation on those. It's been kind of a slow process over the last couple of years. However, the idea with the way things are moving with eBay Live, there's going to be video ads available at some point soon enough as well. So video is becoming a bigger part of how we want to see the products represented. Sure. It's a great call out.
All right, well, I want to thank our panel for this. Before I pass it back to Rich, just a reminder, we'll be posting this on YouTube, sending it out. We host these webinars every other month, so our next one will be in October. That's the first month of Q4. So everybody should be in the midst of ramping up with Black Friday and Cyber Monday right around the corner from that. So we hope that you can join us then as well and hear any updates and tricks and tips coming into the heavy selling season. So with that, Rich, take it back over and close us out, please.
Well, if you listen to Kathy, you should be locked and loaded by October. You should be doing all the work now. So Kathy, thank you again for joining. I appreciate the information. Justin, great to have you as always, and all of the folks at Auctiva that joined us. As John called out, we'll have a follow-up email with all of the information from this webinar with extra links in it. Thank you for joining, and look forward to talking to you guys again in a couple months.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for coming, everybody.